Welcome to LifeSource Health Report, where we assist you to holistically thrive in all ways, body, mind, and soul. Get ready for our best tips, tricks, and suggestions, including product reviews from all over the world.
Welcome to the Health News. Today I have a special guest for this episode, Jeanice Barcelo. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
And we just had a nice long discussion. I encourage you to go look at the deprogramming episode. I believe it's going to be number 9 or 10. And that is going to be talking all about her work and so much about the backstory of what we're going to be talking about today. But I wanted to focus on something that the vast majority of people do not have any idea of. And I was floored. I know a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff, but I didn't know this at all. And I just realized this through your work a couple weeks ago, and I was like jaw on the ground. Yep. So this needs to get out there. It's about ultrasounds, specifically the ultrasounds and the radiation effects on babies in the womb. Mm-hmm. Nobody has any idea the dangers of that. So we understand radiation, we understand EMFs and all of that, but we're told that ultrasounds are sound frequency. I've heard that since I was 17, 18 years old, but you know different. So please educate us.
Well, indeed, ultrasound is sound. I don't want to go into the history of how it's created, but suffice to say that they're torturing crystals. They're electroshock torturing crystals. And the crystals morph and deform and expand and contract at the rate of billions of times per second. And it is in the expansion and contraction and morphing and deforming of the crystals that produces the ultrasound. It's like the ultrasound is screaming. The crystals are screaming from the electroshock torture as their whole being is forced to expand and contract. It pushes and pulls the air around them, and that creates the sound called ultrasound. Okay, keeping in mind that that's also what's happening to our cells when we're exposed to this technology, is that our cells are expanding and contracting and morphing and deforming, and sometimes they blow totally, like because of the pressure through ultrasound. I will start by saying ultrasound is something I did not know was radiation either. When I started writing my birth trauma book, I was going to create a chapter on prenatal care and have ultrasound be a small section because I knew it was a problem, but I didn't know anywhere near what I know now. And as I started looking at ultrasound, I was like, oh my God, this is a rabbit hole, and it requires its own book. It's now a 500-page book, my book about ultrasound, okay? 300 is text, and 200 is the citations. I've got 1,800 citations to back up what I'm saying in this book. So ultrasound is radiation. They call it non-ionizing radiation. And that's what they call the radiation coming from Wi-Fi routers and cell phones. They call it non-ionizing.
Right.
And we're told it's not harmful. But there are tens of thousands of studies indicating how much harm is being caused by exposure to non-ionizing radiation. In the terms of ultrasound, we are taking a very destructive technology that was created as a weapon. It was created as a naval weapon. And we know that when they blast ultrasound into the oceans, that dolphins and whales are beaching themselves with brain hemorrhages and dying. So we know that its purpose is weaponry. I'm being very direct right now.
Mm-hmm. Please do.
They say that ultrasound cannot be heard by humans, But the fact is, billions of us are hearing these frequencies, and they're labeling it tinnitus. Okay, all wireless devices are emitting ultrasound because the frequencies are in the ultrasonic range. And we are chronically exposed to ultrasound through our wireless devices. And many, many people can hear it 24/7. It's in the air, it's in our airspace. And it is very disturbing to hear this. People commit suicide. That's how intense it can get. For babies who are in the womb, in a watery, they're surrounded by the watery amniotic sac, it is extremely loud. It's been recorded at 120 decibels in the womb, which is the same as being next to a chainsaw when it's in operation, or standing in a subway when the trains are coming in. So it is extremely loud, and it is causing hearing issues and deafness in our children, and it is causing dissociation, meaning babies are terrified of the noise, not to mention how sick it makes them feel, which I'll talk about momentarily. And so they leave the womb. I listened to an interview, and I wrote about this in my ultrasound book, with a 2.5-year-old who was saying when she was in the womb that there was very loud thunder, and she was afraid of the thunder, and she wanted to get away from the thunder, so she went up in the clouds, and the thunder went away. Now, anybody that's been researching mind control will know that this is a classic description of dissociation, where they float out and above their bodies. Okay, they might go to Alice in Wonderland or some Disney that they're being instructed to go to, but they leave their bodies. Okay, and this baby did too. Of course, the mother in the interview had no idea what she was talking about, but as soon as I heard the interview, I said, this baby is talking about dissociation because of the exposure to ultrasound. She left her body. So there's problem number 1, is dissociation. Problem number 2 is that it makes babies feel sick, and it makes adults feel sick. Adults who are exposed to high levels of ultrasound can have nausea and headaches and various forms of discomfort that are pretty common in our radiation society. We're chronically exposed right now, that babies are getting in the womb, which causes them to further want to dissociate. One of the major problems with ultrasound is that it causes extreme heating. And this is especially true for Doppler, fetal heart monitors, that cause things to heat up very quickly, the amniotic sac. So I want parents to understand that pregnant mothers are told not to get in hot tubs, because the baby can be neurologically damaged or brain damaged if the amniotic fluid heats up too much. And ultrasound literally can heat things up to at least 5 degrees above normal body temperature, and much higher if it's Doppler induced. We have cases where ultrasound is causing what's called cavitation. Cavitation happens when fluids are exposed to ultrasound, in the same way that when you turn the flame underneath water, and the water boils and it creates bubbles,
Yeah.
and the bubbles pop. Ultrasound creates bubbles in fluids. It's called radiation heating. And that would be in the blood, that would be in the cerebrospinal fluid, that would be in the amniotic fluid and the amniotic sac, that the fluids are heating up, that these bubbles are forming, and these bubbles implode, at very high speeds, like 500 miles per second, fatally damaging all the cells around the implosion and creating localized heating as extreme as the temperature on the surface of the sun.
Oh, good Lord.
Okay? And this is going on in the blood, in the cerebral spinal fluid, the cerebral spinal fluid that totally fills every ventricle of the brain and the nervous system, that some people say is the seat of the soul, because it's crystalline in nature. So you got to get the connection between how they're creating it and the disruption to the crystalline functions of our body, such as the cerebral spinal fluid. We have crystals in our ears. We've got crystals in our heart, in our blood. This is all crystalline. Our bones are crystalline.
Mhm.
Also, the bones heat up. The bones are the first thing that heat up with exposure to ultrasound. The closer that transducer is to the baby's fetal skull bone, this is especially in late pregnancy when the baby's head is quite large, okay? The more likely there's going to be brain damage because the bones heat up, the cerebral spinal fluid heats up, and the brain matter cooks. Literally. It looks like,
So we're also talking about DNA damage, no doubt, especially I would think early on,
extreme.
when even before the bones form, you're very soft, mass, for lack of a better term. You're going to have, because some ultrasounds can be as early as what, 2 months?
Oh, earlier. They're going at it. I mean, they're going at it at 7 weeks. That's the earliest I've seen. And, early pregnancy is a time of rapid cell division.
Yeah.
Let me say this before we get to this, okay? In the 1980s, a study was done on ultrasound, and Dr. Doreen Libeskind found that a single exposure causes the same amount of cellular and DNA damage as the damage caused by 250 chest x-rays.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. This is in my book, but this is real. I think it was 94 rads it's the same damage as that caused by 94 rads of ionizing radiation, okay, which is the equivalent of 250 x-rays in a single exposure, okay? And I have seen slides, which I also put in my book, of the cellular damage that occurs after a single exposure. So we know that DNA damage is extensive. Mitochondrial DNA is also damaged along with nuclear DNA. Okay, it's very extreme. And when you're in a state of early pregnancy and there's rapid cell division happening, if those cells are genetically damaged, you're going to have a genetically damaged child. We now have 1 in 30 boys autistic in the United States. And I think it's 1 in 42 children in general, many of whom have what's called de novo, D-E-N-O-V-O, de novo. It means new genetic mutations that never existed in the family line before and are showing up for the first time in the children who have the genetic mutations. The medical establishment will tell you these genetic mutations are spontaneous. I am here to tell you that the genetic mutations are radiation induced. They're not spontaneous. They're being caused by exposure to ultrasound in the womb, or, well, it could be the baby was chronically exposed to wireless radiation while it was in the womb through parental use of wireless devices. Or it could be that the sperm and egg of the parents are genetically damaged as a result of chronic exposure to wireless radiation or exposure to ultrasound on the part of the parents. Every time a woman undergoes ultrasound, she is irradiating her eggs. Okay? Every single time. And when you listen to microwave weapons experts like Barry Trower, who doesn't have a clue about ultrasound and is only talking about microwaves coming from the wireless, he is expecting that only 1 in 8 children will be genetically intact within the next few decades.
If that.
Because of wireless exposure. And he doesn't know diddly about ultrasound. Okay?
Yeah.
So
I
it's
think
much
it's
sooner.
got to be 100% because it's everywhere. You have to take great lengths to not, yeah.
Avoid it. I mean, I've gone to great lengths. I'm sitting in a Faraday canopy. Everything. I have no wireless devices in my house. I drive an older car, 2002, so that I'm not exposed when I'm driving. Really, my life is very guarded to protect myself from this. And I encourage young people to take this issue very, very seriously. And if you read my ultrasound book, you'll understand why I'm so concerned. So we have genetic damage. We have extreme heating problems. We also have reproductive harm. Radiation exposure causes infertility.
Right.
Ultrasound stops sperm production. They are using it as a form of male contraception. So if you expose an adult male scrotum to 2 15-minute blasts, the adult male will be infertile for a minimum of 6 months. So, adult male scrotum, 2 15-minute blasts, minimum of 6 months infertility. The infertility can be permanent. And of course, any sperm that are produced after, if it's not permanent, will be in question the quality of the sperm because of radiation exposure. So we now have a 60% reduction in male sperm counts since 1970 when they introduced ultrasound.
70. That was going to be my next question. Okay, 70.
60% reduction since the 1970s.
All right.
And we have, I don't know, I think Zach Bush said 1 in 3 men infertile and 1 in every 4 women. Dr. Zach Bush, I think, came up with this.
I love Zach Bush. Shout out to Zach Bush.
So his quote is in my book about infertility. By the way, ultrasound is also being used as a form of non-invasive vasectomy.
Really?
Okay, why? How can they vasectomize an adult man? Well, ultrasound causes extreme heating. They can burn the vas deferens of the adult men, causing coagulation in the vas deferens and thereby blocking the tubes that deliver sperm to the penis. So what do we suppose is happening when they direct the transducer at the developing testes and ovaries of our babies under the guise of discovering the sex?
Oh!
Isn't that special?
It's so special, I know. Or we want to make sure this, want to make sure that.
We just want you to know that you're having a boy or a girl so that you can decorate the nursery, which shouldn't even exist since babies should be co-sleeping, okay? But so that you can decorate the nursery in the right colors for your completely dissociated baby with whom you are not bonded and who you will force to sleep separately in a miniature prison called a crib.
Oh, I got bad. I know I raised a son and I've got all kinds of bad memories of that whole thing. Oh my goodness. We're doing everything wrong, guys. We're doing everything wrong. We
No,
have to,
you're doing it right if you want to be part of a Luciferian world
I know.
and to raise your child as a Luciferian who will be a good member of a Luciferian cult. This is how they do it. This is how they raise their kids.
Yes,
And they've
yes. And
conditioned us
we're
to.
unknowingly, yes.
Mhm.
We have to create what we need. We need to understand these things. I'm so glad that I found you.
I mean, this is
And
why you do a parenting program that takes people from start to finish, from preconception to parenting, because we need to break the mind control of the kids
yeah.
before they have kids, so
Hmm.
that the rest of the children who are planning to come here can come in with a link to the divine mind instead of an entrainment to the Luciferian realm. We want children to be born who are intact, who haven't been scathed by this abuse, by this torture, by
Yes.
these technologies that are so harmful.
I swear, I find the best people, and they're just dropping in my lap now, and it's how I know I'm doing the right thing.
Right
And
on.
yeah, you are right up there, girlfriend.
Oh, thank
Your
you,
work is
Karen.
amazing. Your work is amazing, and I think I'm gonna get with you definitely at some point after. But I know you're.
Please do sign up
Mhm.
on my birth website to
Okay.
receive updates, from me, and to
Hmm.
stay in contact with me. I'm saying this for you, but for everybody that
Hmm.
listens, because I'm about to move my work into the private and I'm creating a ministry. And so
Awesome.
people will not be able to work with me unless they become members of the ministry.
Hmm.
And I'm hoping to build a very strong ministry of people committed to the children of the future and
Yes.
to the healing of our earth through the healing of our trauma.
You're one of us. You're definitely one of us,
Thank
and we're all gathering
you.
one another to us. We're finding each other, and it's becoming easy to do that for a reason.
Yes.
So I know we're both on a time frame, and I appreciate your time today. And maybe we'll do another interview down the line. You've got so much to talk about, to be honest with you. So I'd encourage everyone to look at your website and look at your work and your books.
My books,
And
please look at my books because this is going to give you a ton of information and all the
yeah,
interviews that I've posted. There's so much there.
yeah, yeah. Your books are great gifts. Your interviews are hard to find because I know that they've censored you big time, and I had a hard time finding an email for you even. So the
If you go,
website,
if you go to my website, there's a page with video interviews that are still up that you can click on and listen to. So that's one way. But yes, you're right. I've been
okay,
censored heavily.
yes, yes. So in the show notes, I will put as much information and websites and links to shows that I can that you've done, so people can find you. So
Thank you.
thank you so much.
God
Appreciate you
bless
so
you,
much.
sister. Thank you for what you're
You
doing.
as
And
well. Mm,
I appreciate you helping get this information out to people. God bless you.
thank you.
Yeah. Bye for now.
You've been watching a LifeSource Health Report. To purchase the products, please see the affiliate links in our episode description, where a tiny amount is donated back to support the production of our shows. To connect with us or to see our other shows, please head to lifesource.global. And don't forget to hit the like, subscribe and share buttons. This show is brought to you by Source Light Productions.